Network Entertainment.
Who's ready for story time?
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Let me talk to you.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Run!
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles.
Hey, this is the Cosmic Cactus, Paul London.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the Czar, the NXT champion, and you're listening to...
And you're listening to...
And you're listening. And you are listening.
And you're listening
To the Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
To the Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
Thank you so much for checking out this week's bonus episode of the Wrestling Podcast, where we feature the topics that we just didn't have time for on the live stream. Stan C, Romaran, and Emil Nate checking in once again. And we're going to start off with Roman Reigns reacting to Jimmy Uso being back in the Bloodline. So, medyo abrupt din to because, you know, the Usos made such a huge show, diba? Out of leaving the Bloodline only for Jimmy to turn on Jay, and then for a while, very questionable yung allegiance ni Jimmy, and then now he's clearly trying to get back into the good graces of the tribal chief. So, what do you think of this development with Roman being back and him not really being sure with Jimmy Uso being so close to him once again?
Okay, so I'll let Emil take this first kasi I told him things after Jimmy turned heel, diba? So, and now I think I'm ready to take that L. So, Emil, you go first here.
Yeah, like I can still remember what I said after SummerSlam. If Jimmy's gonna go back to the Bloodline, then the whole thing will jump the shark. And for me, it's starting to go to that territory where wala nang bago eh. Like, again, they're just circling ideas at this point. Like, where's the character development? Saka, when they initially explained what happened on SummerSlam, Jimmy said that he doesn't want Jay to be like Roman, pero ngayon, he's trying to get back to Roman, which is, I don't know, like, di na ako naniniwala na Jimmy is plotting something. Like, he really wants to be back in the Bloodline and then all the character development that was done before SummerSlam is gone. Like, he's back to square one. That's why ever since nag-split sila, Jay has been the better Uso. Kasi he has been the one who went to Raw and also did other things. And Jimmy got stuck sa SmackDown, and he's back to where he was a few months ago, this time without his brother. So, sobrang I don't like this. Like, before kasi with the Bloodline, there's usually one or two characters where even though they're all heels, you root for them. Like, before it was Sammy, right? Even though lahat sila heel, Sammy is the glue that holds the Bloodline together and keeps them interesting. When after Sammy left, it was Jay. He was the one who was the glue of the Bloodline and kept that story interesting. But now with both of those two guys out of the story, out of the Bloodline, and Solo, not even, wala pa si Solo do sa point na he's already gaining traction because, again, he's like the Batista nga. Pero wala pa siya do sa point na people are rooting for him to turn on Roman. So, it has gotten stale. This story has gotten so stale for me. And it has gotten so stale to a point that they need the Judgment Day just so they could be interesting again, I think. Pero at this point, I really don't have any rooting interest in this story whatsoever.
Okay, my feelings about this are complex. I still think that they are building up to something. Like, I see the little things, the little interactions. I see little details that tell me na, okay, may binabalak po sila. But I'm ready to take the L and eat the L on this for now because I can see now why some of the fans or a lot of the fans are starting to tire of the long-term storytelling devices for ni Triple H, WWE. It's because yes, long-term storytelling is good, especially when we had a real lack of it back in the Vince days. Pero you do also want to see things progress at a pace that can still keep you interested, can still keep you hooked. Diba? So, even though, yes, I can see there are these little things that hint toward something big for Jimmy against Roman and the rest, and even Solo, they're taking too long to get to it. And that's why people like Emil, fans like Emil, feel na walang nangyayari. Diba? You do gotta move things along, and no matter how epic your epic is, if people are tired of it, you can't blame them for getting tired of it. Then sometimes sometimes long-term storytelling is good, but you do have to find the sweet spot in making what you really want to happen in the time frame that people want to see it happen. So I think it's a big L here, and because people outside looking in, like I've seen Kaz of the Mass Man Show post a tweet about criticizing yung story arc ni Jimmy. So when you got people like that who have seen through it, who have given up on it, talagang talo na. You gotta fix something. You gotta do it. You gotta do something else, or you gotta get to where you were going. You can't do all of this and then say you're only in the bottom of the third. It really isn't helping you, and it isn't helping your case. It isn't helping the case of the people, the wrestlers, the characters that people want to cheer, people want to boo. You do have to juggle it finely, and this is not them doing that.
Is the issue that Jimmy turned heel, or is it that he is trying to get back in with the bloodline?
It is that, yes. The fact that he has gone against why he turned heel, the reason why he said he turned heel on his brother Jay, because he said that he didn't want to see him be like Roman, and then he is back here doing the thing that Roman, he's cozying up to Roman, he's sucking up to Roman again. Tapos he is even said that he could be tribal chief one day, diba? So a lot of those things are indirect contradiction to what he said, to the point now, okay, there has to be an end game here. There has to be an ulterior motive here, pero everyone is not seeing it now.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on here and talk about Dynamite, which new episode kanina actually told a lot of stories, pushed a lot of them forward. One of them being Edge really digging deep into his backstory with Christian, which Tyro, we've read Edge's book. We are Edge heads through and through, so we are familiar with these already. But for younger fans like Emil or Rowan or whoever else, this might be the first time that you hear about how deep yung story talaga nila ni Christian is, diba? So you have that story, you have Powerhouse Hobbs trying to explain why he turned on Chris Jericho, why he's so angry at Jericho. Apparently, Jericho once snubbed him and his grandma the way Eminem supposedly snubbed Stan and his little brother, man. You have Adam Cole walking out on Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, finally. So a lot of stories here. I don't know if you want to focus on any of these, because I kind of want to talk about the Hobbs story first.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm beginning to have a problem with AEW wrestlers referencing their real lives and their interactions with these legends. Like the first time with Punk and MJF was fine. And then nung ni-reference ni MJF si Adam Cole, hey, sige, that's your shtick eh. But now Hobbs gets to do it and brings up like some random date from when he was a child and whatever trauma this legendary wrestler gave him just because they didn't have the time to say hi to him. It's beginning to feel like it's lacking in originality na. And I get it. Lahat tayo wrestling fan eh. So at some point, we've probably crossed paths with these wrestlers and have had a moment that really made a mark on us for better or for worse. But can we have a point, Muna, where we kind of hold off on these origin stories first? Because I'm getting tired of watching these stories start off with some random date like November 21, 1998, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm beginning to feel tired of this.
No, I think it's just you. I liked it. I like that Hobbs had a reason for doing what he did, for aligning with for aligning with Don Callis. It's a little too convenient. You can poke holes in the argument. You can poke holes in the story and say, oh, how did Don Callis know that Will Hobbs is the exact person to get against Chris Jericho? Kasi si Chris Jericho snubbed him and his grandma all those years ago in the 90s. So that's where it falls apart. But Hobbs kasi has been a victim of some terrible writing since being plucked out of the dark circuit. So this one feels like a major upgrade to me. And I don't mind it because it's someone who isn't MJF this time. And I don't know. I liked it. I liked it being coming from a real place because it does show that Hobbs is human. I don't know why. I think pagod lang ako when it's from MJF because MJF has used it too many times to flesh out his character, but it's someone like Hobbs who didn't have a character until now. Diba? They had starts and stops with the whole Book of Hobbs thing, with the whole Team Taz thing, with the whole QTV thing. So for him to have something that isn't lame or silly or corny is, to me, refreshing.
I actually think that yung story that he told on Dynamite was made up. In kayfabe,
sure.
it was made up kasi he just has to find a reason or
Yeah.
tell a reason why he has to go against Chris Jericho. And that was like in the, di ba yung mind working si Don Callis na he lies, he manipulates people. So that was a part of the story. Na he has to tell this made up BS story. So that was the reason why he went after Jericho. So I got it for what it was. Pero it's kind of, I will agree with you, Stan, with the they keep referencing those real life things, and they gotta slow down for a little bit. Yung kay Edge and Edge, I gotta get used to Adam Copeland and Christian. That was a better example of using the real life experience because we all know it's real. It's been written in the book, and it's from lahat ng mga sinabi ni Adam. Like it was from the heart, and it was true, and you could relate to it because you followed them all their careers, all their lives. No, so that was a much better use of it than any other times where it was used recently, diba?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yun lang. I just wanted to get that off my chest because when I saw the Powerhouse Hobbs promo, that was the first thing that came to mind. Like, really, another childhood interaction with a wrestler.
I think kasi hindi mo yan maiiwasan, especially in a company where you have the extremes. You have the young kids, the Gen Z kids.
Yeah.
Then you have the legends who are nung panahon natin, diba?
Yeah.
Who were the kids in our age 20 years ago, fucking 20 years ago. So I don't think you can avoid it, especially when you are talking to fans when you have wrestlers who were fans and when you have fans who have been watching for that long, diba? So it's never gonna go away. I just wanted one guy to stop using it. So much.
Okay. So Ro, in our notes, you made the comp na si Powerhouse Hobbs is the little brother in Stan. I dare say that Powerhouse Hobbs is actually Frozone.
Yeah, sure. That's a good. Oh, is it because he's black? No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, I didn't say that.
No, but it's fine. Sure,
okay.
Sure.
Do you want to talk about the ENC story or the Adam Cole story?
The Adam Cole story, interesting. I think it's him finally getting to do surgery because I think he finally did have surgery over the past week. So that's one thing. You can only get to do the Roddy Strong story for so long before Adam Cole needs to get surgery for real. So yeah. I think that's them ending it. I just hope that they do something about the ROH Tag Team Championships. The Edge story I really like kasi ito na yung stories that I read in his book, diba? The story about how Christian didn't start training the same time as Edge.
Yep.
How
Edge,
Adam. Yeah. How Edge got signed to WWE first by JR. So a lot of those things are true. And it was then when he was talking about it that I realized, oh, they never got to tell the story at all when they were feuding all the way more than 20 years ago. Back in 2001. So
Kasi very surface level lang yung story nun. It was about King of the Ring.
yeah. So you can also feel how they were kind of shafted by Vince that time because he didn't believe in them so much to get a really fleshed out feud, diba? Also because they were mid-carders at the time, but it would have been big if he just put the effort into it. So I think it's also worth noting that we're lucky to have both guys in the same company in this latter run for them to really hash out their history, their full history in a story that they still get to have before they retire.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Emil, any thoughts on this?
Just Adam Cole story. I think at this point, because he's gonna be out for a long time, they had to they had to cut it short.
He had to have surgery. Yeah,
and he's gonna be out for a long time. So this is basically the bookend to that. And I don't know if they're gonna get back to that because we really don't know how long Adam Cole is gonna be out. Yung sabi-sabi is like months, so we really don't know how that's gonna turn out. So also agreeing with Rose's point, they need to do something with the tag team titles. It's because Adam Cole's not gonna come back anytime soon. And just yung Adam and Christian thing, yes, I'm looking forward to it because like you said, they never really fleshed this out in the WWE. Kasi when you could argue when both of them were in their primes, Christian was in TNA and Edge was like they're in different places. And then nung bumalik sila, Christian at that point was, he was on and off, he was getting injured, and Edge retired. So for the first time, stars aligned, and they're both in the same company, and now they have the opportunity to have their own feud, and they can tell all these stories about what happened in real life, and I'm looking forward to more of these. Siguro they can stretch this out again until Revolution, because that's how much gravitas this feud have.
Okay, I'm just kind of sad because it'll be a while again until we hear
He did not show up in our end.
Yeah. It'll be a while until we hear Roddy scream for again. All right. One last thing from AEW na ngayon ko lang naisip. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the Neck Strong thing and the Elton Strong thing on SmackDown are happening concurrently.
I did.
Yeah. And we haven't really addressed it on the podcast. May thoughts ba kayo on that? Kasi nauna yung Neck Strong di ba?
Yeah, I noticed it when I was watching SmackDown last Friday. Our boys Pretty Deadly need to acknowledge the fact that you can't. They need it to be edited to not do that. Because No 9 Neck Strong. Yes, they were playing the same thing with Elton, diba? But they should have had the good sense to know that it was similar to what AEW was doing with Roddy.
Mm-hmm. Although ito to be fair then, I'm seeing a lot of the story of Dominic Mysterio to what is happening right now with Nick Wayne. So like both companies just play off each other, I guess. Especially after this week, like I could see it.
I think the Nick Wayne thing is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, ako rin.
The wrinkle with the Nick Wayne thing is because there is another father figure, and one of the fathers is dead. So that is completely different from what Dominic has, which is a living father.
And Dom that he's literally sub or a simp for.
So you can say it's the same because there is a trope of a rebellious teenage kid, but not teenage, but a teenage Dom. But there's a rebellious second generation kid, but that's about it. May bad influence in Rhea, and there's a bad influence in Christian, but Rhea is not Dom's father figure.
There's that going against the comparison that Emil just brought up.
Yeah.
Moving on to other wrestling news from this week, the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, in case there's any confusion. They've got a TV deal with the CW. If you don't know what the CW is, this is the network that used to air Arrow, and the entire Arrow is also an affiliate channel of CBS. So the CBS is one of the biggest networks in the US. So the CW is their network for like yung mga sci-fi shows or yung mga young adult shows nila.
No more girls. That was on CW.
Not sure if a wrestling show has aired on the CW before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did
SmackDown.
Yeah, SmackDown.
SmackDown, di ba? Yeah.
And used to be on the CW, so this is not the first time that this is happening, but this is huge for the NWA, which has been largely on YouTube for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, YouTube on Fight. So the NWA is going through a moment right now. They have claimed to bring back the territory system because they annexed EC3's new promotion. I forgot what it was called.
So you're talking about
No, it's not CYN. It's a different one now. Something Evolution. I think Evolution is part of the name. But they annexed it as part of the first quote unquote NWA territory in this decade. So then now they have a TV show reportedly with the CW. So that's interesting. Billy Corgan is going through another moment as well because he just he came off the heels of having Tyrus, the controversial former Brodus Clay, as his NWA champion, which nobody really liked. So they're doing this they're trying to be relevant, which is totally fine. It's funny because they did this now after a lot of their big talent from 2019, 2020 moved on to greener pastures with AEW, with WWE. Like their former world champion is now the general manager of SmackDown. Their former mid card guy is now one of the megastar. No Atashawi. You have Ricky Starks as well in AEW. So it's now the new NXT or the new ROH of the wrestling business. So that's interesting. I don't know if enough of their current talent are on the same level as the roster they had before the pandemic. So it will be interesting to see how the NWA tries to keep afloat on the CW with a lack of big name talent.
Mm-hmm.
What if like their first big get after a TV deal is CM Punk to NWA?
I mean, I think knowing Billy Corgan and how he booked Tyrus, that might be like the most probable thing. He has Chris Masters on the show.
Yeah,
I think he's a big champ. Sorry,
Cardona.
Oh yeah, Cardona.
Cardona.
Yeah. But let's see how he. It's no Nick Aldis, so let's see how he does it now.
Yeah, more wrestling on TV is always a good thing for the business. So congrats pa rin to Billy Corgan and the NWA for signing this TV deal with the CW. We're going to close things out on the bonus episode with predictions for Halloween Havoc Night 1. So far, ang alam pa lang natin yung matches ng Night 1 because they're still building up for Night 2. And the two big ones for Night 1 are the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the D'Angelo family and Chase U, and the NXT Women's Championship between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. So may championship ba na to switch hands or change hands out of Halloween Havoc?
It's interesting because I don't know. It feels like it could be a big Lyra Valkyria win, but I also don't know how far or how long they're willing to take yung Becky Lynch experiment. Yeah. Something I noticed watching Raw was that Becky appearing on Raw as the NXT Women's Champion is making a really good case for having a mid-card championship for the women. Like AEW had it right with the TBS championship. The only way they kind of failed that was, not having more than one women's match every week, every night. Diba? So, but in theory, they got that right. So if you have a deep women's division, you do need as many plot devices for them as possible. So, tama yun. And I like the idea of the mid-carder women likes in Indy Hartwell, Tegan Knox. People don't always see having something to chase for in Becky's NXT Women's Championship. So I hope they take that idea and make a separate women's championship a step lower than the main one, which is another championship. Yes, pero I think it could make for better stories and better matchups. So, yun lang. That's why I don't want Becky to lose then, but at the same time, NXT does need a women's championship na kanila din ulit. So I do want Lyra to win, especially because I think she's deserved it after strong showings as standing toe-to-toe with Becky, especially on the mic in the story, right? Telling a good story about Becky. I like that. Yung connection to that as Becky being her Irish role model in WWE. So that's pretty cool. And I think she deserves the win. But if not, then they're probably saving that for a bigger PLE.
Same thing. I don't think we're gonna get a title change. There's a tag team match. There is a story developing within Chase U. So I don't think they're gonna have the titles anytime soon. I think JC Jane will cost them the tag team titles. So the Angelo family will retain, in my opinion. And in the women's, I think Becky retains. Although I do think Lara is maybe the person to beat Becky. Pero like Rose said, maybe they're saving that for a bigger event. Maybe the next major event, which yung outside nung PC, maybe Deadline, I guess. So maybe they're saving that for Deadline. I think.
Here's a question for you guys. At the end of this week's NXT, we saw Lyra Valkyria tearing up yung photo nila ni Becky, diba? But then on the screen, we suddenly got Jade Cargill. What if Becky actually loses the championship to Jade?
I don't. That's know. What eventually, not soon.
What if Jade's first feud is actually Becky all along?
I actually said that a few weeks ago, where we asked where you think, about Becky Lynch, her title reign, and I thought there isn't a better way to debut your new superstar than defeating one of the legends of the industry, which is Becky Lynch. That's going to be a big first feud and first win for Jade Cargill if they went that route, and I actually would like that.
I am not sure kasi parang hindi pa sila confident about putting Jade in the ring yet. Like if they were, she would have started squashing people already. I'm not saying it's impossible, pero it doesn't tell me that, it doesn't tell me that right now. Kasi if they were happy with her progress already, then she would have started wrestling. Because I'm thinking again that the Becky experiment isn't going to last super long. I don't think aabot si Jade for Becky's eventual loss of the NXT Women's Championship.
So there, those are our thoughts on some of the other stories that we just didn't have time for sa live stream natin. If you want to chime in on the conversations, as always, you can find us on Twitter and on TikTok. It is at Wrestling2XPod. We'll catch you again on Tuesday with our picks of the week. And kung meron malaking explosive topic coming out of the weekend shows, we'll probably get into that as well. But until then, this has been Stan C, Romoran, and Emil Nate. Another episode of the Wrestling Podcast is in the books. Peace.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.